You're listening to the Culips English Podcast. To download the study guide for this episode, which includes the transcript, detailed vocabulary explanations, real-world examples, and a quiz, visit our website, culips.com. CULIPS.com. Hey everybody, my name is Andrew.
And I'm Suzanne.
And you're listening to Culips. Hey Suzanne.
Hey Andrew, how's it going?
I am doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Doing good.
Suzanne, I'm excited to get into this episode because we are continuing our talk about your trip to the West Coast. And in our last Chatterbox episode, we talked about your visit to California. Today, we're going to talk about your time in Oregon.
Yeah.
The state north of California.
Yeah. You guys, don't tell too many people about Oregon because it's kind of one of the coolest places ever. And if too many people know about it, then it won't be as cool.
One of America's best kept secrets.
I think so. I actually went there in 2007. So 11 years ago was my first time there. And I've been back a few times since. But then this time I was like, whoa, more people have moved here. It's it's more established, especially on the Oregon coast. The Oregon coast is some cool coastline, I have to say. It's pretty awesome, yeah.
I can't wait to hear all about it, Suzanne. But just before we get started and hear all about your adventures, I would like to remind all of our listeners that there is a study guide for this episode. And actually, we make study guides for all of our Culips episodes. So if you would like to access our study guide library, which gives you unlimited access to all of our study guides, just visit culips.com and sign up to become a Culips member. Culips membership is affordable and it's an effective way to really take your studies to the next level with us. So if you are a serious student, if you have a resolve to improve your English, then we would love to help you achieve your goals. So just visit culips.com, get all the details you need to sign up and become a Culips member to study with our study guides. All right, Sue. So today's episode, it's a Chatterbox episode, and in Chatterbox, this is where we chat, right? We have a natural conversation. We use our normal, everyday English that we use in our everyday lives, and we let you guys, the listeners, listen in and join the fun. Well, where should we start, Sue? You know better than I.
So we entered Oregon a little more inland than on the coast. We went to Ashland, Oregon, which is a valley. It's near the Umpqua, Umpqua, Umpqua Valley.
Umpqua, cool word.
Yeah, and we've kind of followed the Rogue River, and it's a famous river. It's huge, and it's famous for steelhead salmon fishing, fly fishing. So we saw tons of dudes and ladies in those kind of rubber pants. So you go into the river and you have the big long fishing rod and you swing it around and throw it into the river and hope for some steelhead salmon.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we stayed in Ashland and drove to Crater Lake.
Okay.
Which is amazing.
Crater Lake.
Yeah. So Crater Lake is this huge lake that was made because a volcano imploded. It like exploded and then collapsed on itself.
So do you have to hike up a little bit to access it?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's kind of like the Grand Canyon where there's like a whole rim walk, around this crater.
Okay.
And there are mountains all around it. So you have some gorgeous hikes and views. And the colors down into the lake are magnificent because of all the lava colors. So it's like purple and deep, 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 deep blues and purples. And it's just incredible. I can post a picture of Crater Lake. It's pretty spectacular. I mean, Olivier was just like so impressed by this. It's quite magnificent.
All right. So guys, be sure to check our Instagram and Facebook for the picture of Crater Lake.
It's great. This is my second time to Crater Lake, and the first time I went, I hiked up Mount Scott, which is the highest peak at the Crater Lake. I think it's like about 12,250 feet.
Which means nothing to me.
That's it. I'm not sure in meters.
Sounds quite high.
It's pretty high. And it's above tree line. So there at one point there are no trees and you're just climbing rock in open sky. And it's quite beautiful because when you hike Mount Scott, you have a 360-degree view. And you are actually on a peak. There's not much space to stand. It's a little scary.
Wow.
But yeah.
One of my new kind of hobbies is trail running. So I've been running for a little while now, but I've started running on trails, and I started following some trail runners on Instagram. And the Pacific Northwest in California, Oregon, Washington State is a really popular place for trail running. So I'm seeing lately all of these pictures that the trail runners I follow on Instagram are uploading. I gotta say, Oregon and the mountains, they are very impressive. It looks so beautiful. I can't wait to visit there and go running someday, hopefully.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yes. I'm going to get to this other mountain in a second that you might want to go up as well. But I highly recommend trail running in Crater Lake. The views are so spectacular all the way up. So you're under the trees all the time. You're really seeing lots of different things. So that I would put that on your list.
Suzanne, I also want to ask you about coffee, because I know coffee is really, really popular and coffee culture in Oregon. Did you go to any good cafes, or did you have a good cup of joe anywhere?
Every day.
Every day.
Yes, good coffee every day. So after Crater Lake, we actually went to the Oregon coast. I'm going to tell you that in a second. We're going to jump quickly to Portland because that's where I had the best coffee. So in Portland, we stayed at an Airbnb for 3 nights. So that was great to really just relax in a city. Portland is amazing, not just for the coffee and the beer, but also it's extremely well designed recently. It wasn't always this way, but there are so many bike paths and pedestrian paths, and there's a bridge. There are 9 bridges, and one of the bridges is strictly for the metro, walkers, and bicycles. So no cars are allowed on this bridge, and it's so just bike friendly. I mean, there are so many signs just for bikes. It's quite accommodating for pedestrians and bicyclists. So the coffee, there's this famous coffee in Portland called Stumptown coffee.
Right. I've heard of this before.
Yeah, I might be able to send you a picture of the packaging, actually. And it's so good. It's so good. And we went to this great cafe right near us. We were staying in the Laurelhurst neighborhood, which is kind of I mean, all the neighborhoods are like funky and hip and like, hipster. But this is a really good neighborhood, a fun neighborhood to stay in. It's like outside of the downtown area. And this coffee shop is called Crema, and they just had the best coffee every morning. They knocked it out of the park every morning. And finally, I told them, I said, we're visiting and we're going to miss you guys. And they're like, oh, thanks. Like, you're awesome.
I visited Portland a long time ago, maybe at least 10 years ago. And I was really impressed. I thought it was just a fantastic city. Good vibe, good people, good coffee.
Yes. The bookstore.
Yeah, Powell's. Yeah.
The Powell books. Oh my gosh. It's like, you guys, if you ever go to Portland, you have to go to Powell Books. It's the largest bookstore that's not like Amazon.
Yeah.
They have everything you could ever want. You could spend the entire day in there. It's like a book lover's heaven, I would say. It's pretty awesome.
It's a paradise. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's a paradise for sure. So what was fun was, so there was a lot of like coffee shops and a lot of food trucks with amazing food from all over the world. Lots of little food trucks and food courts with food trucks. So like at night you just go hang out, you have your dog, you play cards, you just hang out in like a courtyard with lots of food trucks, and it's super cool.
Nice.
There was even a craft beer food truck.
Nice.
Super cool. Yeah. From Portland, we also saw the Columbia River Valley. So this is like Multnomah Falls, this huge, huge famous waterfall. I highly recommend some hikes around there. That the views are incredible to see where the Columbia River is flowing out into the Pacific Ocean.
Ooh, that would be beautiful.
It's really cool. And it separates Washington from Oregon. So that's really neat. And we spent a lot of time on the coast. One place that's super fun is Florence.
Florence, okay.
Florence, Oregon. That's where we did sandboarding. So Olivier and I love to snowboard. And in Florence, there are these huge sand dunes.
Right.
For like 30 miles. Okay? It's not just like one sand dune. It's like the entire, like the 30 miles of coast are these sand dunes.
So these big hills, these piles of sand, right?
Yes, exactly. And the wind is blowing over it. So you see the sun setting over the ocean, and like the wind is blowing the bits of sand over it. And I took a time-lapse video. So it looks like you're in a Star Wars movie. Like, it's those like worlds of sand where it's just like all sand. And we took a sandboard and we did some sandboarding down the dunes.
Wow.
And it's more like surfing, I would say, than snowboarding, because sand is a lot more malleable.
Okay.
But it was super cool. And if you ever get a chance to do that, you guys, try sandboarding. It's really fun. And if you fall, it's okay, because it's sand,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you get a nice tan.
I've seen people do that before. I've never tried it, but it looks fun. So I'll have to give it a whirl next time.
Yes.
I'm in Oregon.
You have to try it. It's really worth it. It's a weird thing. It's quite different, than just your normal snowboarding or skiing.
Sue, I know, just like in our previous episode about California, there's probably a lot of other places in Oregon that you visited and lots of other awesome experiences that you had. But unfortunately, we just don't have time to talk about everything.
Yeah.
But just like in the previous episode, I want to end this episode by talking about food. So I know there's like some really famous food from Oregon, like the donuts. What are the donuts called? The voodoo donuts, right?
Yes, we went to Voodoo Donut for sure. Now, that's in Portland. Yeah.
Portland. And it's famous for coffee, for craft beer, for the food trucks. But what was your most memorable food memory from Oregon?
So there are a lot of craft breweries around. A lot of them have like visiting chefs that come and make these amazing menus.
Okay.
There's that. And then there's also kind of craft beer places that also have incredible food. And then there's just like really good restaurants and stuff too, obviously, like regular restaurants. But we went to this kind of craft beer place where they kind of feature all of the local beers.
Okay.
And then they have an incredible menu. And it was our anniversary, and we wanted to just have a really good burger. We wanted like an amazing burger. And this place really delivered.
Nice.
It was 2 blocks away from where we were staying. And so that's awesome too, because you can just like drink beer and walk home.
Walk home, yeah.
Yeah. And the burger was perfect. It was one of the best burgers, maybe the best burger I've ever had. Oh. And you could, just the ingredients, the topping, like it was so good.
Just hit the spot.
Yes. And the fries were drizzled and made with truffle oil. So that's a mushroom, a kind of very fragrant and herbaceous, I would say, tasting mushroom. And so this kind of flavor was super good. Super good.
Awesome. Well, you've started to make my mouth water here, Suzanne. Talking about donuts and beer and coffee and burgers. Wow, it sounds like a paradise that I have to get to sometime sooner than later. Oregon.
Yeah.
Sue, thanks again for recapping your trip. It was really exciting to hear about your adventure in Oregon.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, well, it's fun. And just before we wrap it up, I would like to remind all of our listeners that the study guide for this episode is available on culips.com. So check out our website to give it a download. And of course, if you'd like to email us, you can reach me and Suzanne and everyone on the Culips crew by shooting an email to contact@culips.com. contact@culips.com. Hey, Sue, we will be back soon with part 3 of your trip. And this is the last episode in the series where we'll be talking about Washington State. So everybody stay tuned for that, and we'll meet y'all in Washington State.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.